Fuck. You have to
It's proper.
eat 3 jars of peanut butter in one sitting.
Quit eating
Oh
dick.
my god.
Eating
I
all
think
that
I would.
dick doesn't help.
I think that would just kill me, right? I would just
Wait,
have a
hold on
heart
a second.
attack. So
When you said, Helena, when you said, "Oh, come on," what did you mean by that?
He couldn't have really said that.
who said that? By the, who said that?
said it.
Who said that? By the way,
Wait, come on, everyone just stop.
Jonathan.
John
This is
John
what I
said that.
don't. This is what I
Yes.
don't understand.
Oh well, John John's an idiot, so I wouldn't
Alright,
expect
alright,
anything
good
else
talking.
from him.
No, John John's an amazing interlocutor. He said so himself.
Helena, are you really surprised?
Listen. You guys are gonna say it's
Listen.
white knighting, okay? But listen, blood. I would want to hear it all.
What?
I would want to hear the whole conversation in context
Oh, wow.
before, I would want to hear
You're
it
out of
firsthand.
control, Helena.
Get the fuck.
Helena, this comes from
But
the
if
guy.
really he thinks that, then that's silly.
He
It's a
said
quote.
it.
I guarantee it's not something that he genuinely. He believes it because Jordan. Like you can tell when he's describing
Jordan
it.
Peterson said it? That's really atrocious.
Helena,
Probably. I'm just guessing, but he. the
Did
way-
you ever
I
hear
doubt
that
that.
John
I don't
came in
think
here?
Jordan Peterson would say that.
All he had to say to defend the claim, all he used to defend the claim was, think about it. For our whole history, our food was our medicine,
So?
and that's it. Buttering Helena.
I'm sorry.
Helena, dude, you're just so sickening.
It's just ridiculous. Does he think that there weren't any
Ill.
transgender people back when we didn't have medicine? Everybody was straight and just two genders back when we didn't have medicine?
No.
This is the
Who
guy
knows
that
what
said-
fucking John John thinks? He
John
doesn't know
John
what he
said
fucking
that
thinks.
women are useless, and if they didn't have tits and pussy, that we'd hunt them for sport.
Whoa! Just scored a gold medal winning pole vault at the Edgelord. That one.
Didn't he also say during that conversation that like 9 out of 10 people with anorexia are faking it as like an analogy to the trans thing?
Yeah, basically.
Something
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
John
he said-
actually thinks before he speaks.
He said 9 out of 10 trans people are only pretending to have transgender problems
He was
and gender dysphoria.
using so
And then-
he was doing the transgender thing as like an analogy to saying 9 out of 10 people with anorexia are faking it.
No,
then he
no.
said-
I
He was using the
I
anorexia
actually agree
as-
with him on that.
Well, how do you
I actually agree
figure
with him on
if
that.
1 in 2 trans people try to kill themselves, how are 9 out of 10 of them faking it? Like
Yeah,
4 out
I
of 10 of
do
them are just
believe-
killing themselves,
I
trying to kill
believe-
themselves for fun, just for attention.
Wait a second. I actually agree that 9 out of 10
Yeah, I know.
transgender people
Then you're
are
actually a
They're
brain
trying
dead.
to- They're trying to really sell it, Claire.
That's a retarded thing to think.
You don't want to debate me on it?
Don't worry, Kat. He cited you as.
If you
transgender
want
by
me to
buddy.
debate you on it, I will, but don't expect me to
See,
be nice
Tom,
to you.
when it gets ridiculous like this, I don't, I just, who
Like,
cares?
I will
Yeah,
debate
look,
you on
the
it.
majority-
I don't
Kathleen,
give a
Hell,
shit.
I will be
People are
extremely
talking
cruel
like
with
this,
you
I
if you
don't
try to
give a
debate me
shit.
on it.
It's
The
ridiculous.
majority of people who claim to be transgender are not in fact transgender. The majority
Are
just
you included in that?
attention-seeking asshats.
Are you included in that
are
total?
Like, oh, look, a
Oh,
new
shit.
trend.
Because
Well,
you are just a
new
cam girl
trend.
fetishist, so I mean.
Oh shit.
How does that delete my point, mate? That's not a defeat.
I'm
to my
asking if you
argument.
could include yourself in that total, the 9 out of 10, because you seem like you're closer
that's
to the
irrelevant to the
non-
point. That's
gender
irrelevant. That's not
dysphoria
cogent to the
suffering
point.
fetishists.
Yeah, that's great.
than
That's great,
most
but you
trans
haven't disputed the point, right? The majority of transgender people who claim to be transgender
I already did.
are not in
My,
fact
my
transgender.
original
No, you
argument
didn't.
disputed
You didn't
it.
defeat
If
anything.
1 in
You
2
didn't
of them
dispute
try to kill
anything.
themselves over gender dysphoria, then they're not doing it
Then-
for attention. It's a serious
Yeah,
problem.
lots
If someone
of
tries to
people
kill
try
themselves
kill themselves
over
for attention.
anxiety, then it's considered a
Lots of
serious
people
medical
try to
problem.
kill
If you try to
themselves
kill
for
yourself
attention.
over depression, that's a serious medical problem. You're not
Yeah,
just saying I'm
lots of
depressed for
people
attention.
Kill themselves.
check.
Lots of people try to commit suicide for attention. So that doesn't defeat the point either.
I don't think that's
Anything
the case.
else?
I think that's,
Yeah,
and
that's
then-
a nonsense
anything else?
argument. Okay,
Helena.
so what
Look,
qualifies
this is
as an
just- let
actual
me say
mental
something.
illness then?
Whoa,
Real
whoa,
quick.
whoa.
This
If
is
self-harm
just
isn't a
empirical.
qualifier, then
It's
what is it?
silly. It's silly to argue over this. It's just an empirical matter.
Okay,
So
let's attack this from
it's
another
just going to be
direction.
one person make a claim, the other
Helena,
person
can
make a
I
different
make
claim,
another
the
claim
other
for a
person make a
second?
different claim. It's just going to be claim and
Are
then
you
claim and then
over you.
claim.
Well,
planning on transitioning, Kathleen, ever in your life?
So Kathleen, let's address this from another direction. There's a recent series of studies where they started doing brain scans on people who are transgender.
Yeah, I know that. That's
And
called
40
that's a study out of the that is a study out of the university.
Okay, hold on,
48% of
Kathleen,
people
One
are
at a time.
diagnosed having
Fuck.
Yeah.
transgender thought patterns prior to taking any kind of hormones to transition. Just people that were saying they experienced gender dysphoria prior to treatment. 48% of them had intersex brain structure of some kind, where their brain structure in the 13 places that brains are gendered diverges from the normal male or female pattern towards the opposite sexes pattern. So if half of them have brain structures that are deviant from normal brain structures, how are 4 of those 10 just faking being transgender in your 9 out of 10 theory?
Yeah, so you're talking about the studies of the University of Liege and the University of San Diego, California, at Berkeley, done by Siddhartha Mukherjee and Julia Baker, which confirmed issues in the supramarginal gyrus and the corpus callosum, differentiating male and female brains from transgender people and showing
That's
a
only one of the
conclusive
studies.
element. Right? No, those are the 2 main studies. You quoted both of them. I gave you the actual studies. Right? That does not dispute the fact that the majority of people who claim to be transgender are not in fact transgender because they don't suffer from gender dysphoria. And if you don't suffer from
50% of the people,
dysphoria, you are not
if
transgender.
50% of the
because
study
transgender is
showed actual
transgenderism.
intersex brain
Hey,
structure,
I'm talking
how can
now.
you say
I'm
that
talking now,
a
you
significant
dumb.
margin
I'm
of them
talking
aren't?
now.
Claire,
I'm
one at a time.
talking
Go ahead,
now.
my bad. Go ahead.
I am talking now. Transgenderism is a biological epigenetic structural defect. All right, that's what transgenderism is. It is not a feeling. It is not, ooh, I'm non-binary. I'm going to be a boy today. I'm going to be a girl tomorrow. Right? It is a structural epigenetic defect that occurs during gestation. It is literally a birth defect. And if people want to rebel in society, as they always do, between the hippies and the swingers and the hairbanders and the goths and everything else, that's fine. But don't call them transgender, because they're not. They are just people seeking attention. And many, many people who do attempt to commit suicide have absolutely no plans of actually killing themselves. They just want a little bit of attention. And that's why they do it.
So when are you going to actually address the point I just made instead of going on
I
a
just
rant?
did address the point.
If 48% of them have intersex brain structure, how is a significant majority of them doing it for attention? And how is it not
Wait a
valid?
second. Wait a second. When did I say that there wasn't a group of people that are in fact transgender?
Okay, do you know what
I said the
48%
majority.
means?
Nope.
That
I'm
means
responding
half.
now.
Not a significant
I'm sorry.
margin
I'm
either
sorry,
way.
but
That's
your
half.
your study simply shows that a certain group of people studied that claim to be transgender did in fact have this thing, but they all claim to be transgender, right? But transgender is an umbrella term that encompasses agendered, non-gender binary, and all these other bullshit terminologies that people want to attach to themselves because, I need to do something different in my life. Right?
So
Transgender is a medical condition, and 9 out of 10 transgender people, or people who claim to be transgender, or fall under this bullshit transgender umbrella, are not in fact transgender. They're just leeching off the system for attention because it's fucking trendy.
So again, you didn't address
Yeah,
the statistical
I've
difference
addressed
between
every
the study
point you've
and
brought
your
up.
claim.
I brought up. I've
If you
addressed
say
every
9
point
out of
you've
10 are
brought up.
faking it, but objectively 1 out of 2 of them have a brain structure that deviates
You
from their
have
gender
one
norm,
study.
how does
You
that
have one
copacetic?
study. You have
No,
one
it's
study
not
of
one study.
2,000 people.
You already
have
cited
one
2 studies,
study.
and that's not all the studies.
You have one study of 2,000 people and one study of 38 people. Please explain to me how
You
we
know what?
can
I'm going to
take
go
one
pull up some more
study of
studies and drop
2,000
them
people
in the
and
main chat
one
since you're just
study of
going to
30.
ramble
Look, I
claim
got
for
all
not
the studies
addressing any
in a
point.
pad of paper. Claire,
No,
I
you
got
don't have all the
studies.
studies. There's new studies coming out on this
I
literally
have all
monthly.
of them. I have literally all of them because I like to know what the fuck I'm talking about.
maybe
And you
you're a
quoting
little
one
loose with the use
survey.
of literally.
And to say that you have one study done on a group of people to say this is reflective of the entire community when the only thing they were concerned about was showing the structural differences in the brain, and you are ignoring the fact that transgenderism is used by people in society as a blanket umbrella term while ignoring the fact that transgenderism is actually a medical diagnosis, shows me that you're not connecting A to
Transgenderism
B.
isn't a medical diagnosis. Gender
It
dysphoria is
is
a
a
medical diagnosis.
medical
Those are two different
term. It
things.
was
No, it's not a medical
always a
term.
medical term, and then
Transsexual was a
4
medical term.
years
Transgender has never
ago,
been a medical term.
4 years ago, we started talking about transgender people, and all of a sudden, all these other people started falling into this category. Transsexual is a term for transgender people who suffer from the medical understanding of what transgender is, who start the process of transitioning. Transsexual is just an entailment of transgenderism. Transgenderism is not some umbrella term that we can throw all these other people that we want to in. Connect the dots A to B. It's not an umbrella, but if we use it as an umbrella, then 9 out of 10 people who claim to be under that umbrella, who identify as non-binary or plural binary or a fucking transracial furry, are not going to be actual transgender people. So the claim 9 out of 10 is probably accurate.
Probably accurate, huh? I'd love to see what kind of data gathering you use to come by the idea that 9 out of 10 people claiming to be transgender are actually just claiming to be gender non-binary. Because that's actually
Well,
not
how
anywhere
many
near the
genders are
statistics
there,
when people
Claire?
polled.
How many
There's two genders.
genders are there, Claire? There's
I
2
don't.
genders,
Yeah,
not
I don't
according
believe
to
in
transgender
pangender.
people. There's not. Well, that's great, but that's not what
No,
transgender is used
transgender
for. So
people
if we're
are
gonna
not their own
if we're
gender.
gonna
They're a
use
person
what
that's
you're
born one gender
debating,
and is trying to cross lines to the other gender. That still leaves only 2
oh,
genders.
but
They're
wait,
just
I
trying to
thought
switch which gender they are.
transgenderism wasn't a medical term, because now you're describing a
It's
medical
not.
process, but I thought it wasn't a medical
Transsexualism
term.
used to be a medical term and is not any longer.
Transsexualism is an entailment of transgender.
No, transsexualism is the old term, and they started calling it
No,
transgender
no,
because
it's not.
people realize that it's impossible to change your biological sex, and you're actually just trying to change your gender role. So they
No,
define the
you're
words
wrong
because that's
again.
actually more correct. But that never was
No,
included
you're
as a
wrong
medical
again.
term because by the point that they redefined those words, there's already a separate medical term called gender dysphoria, which describes the mental illness that causes people to want to be transsexual or transgender. You're not actually right
Yeah,
on this.
so I'm sorry, but you're wrong again, because the blanket terminology used during the olden days, right, from like the 1920s on, when the first transgender reassignment surgery happened, was transvestite, which was a blanket term, medical term used. Okay, then transsexual was the entailment of transvestite. And then transvestite became out of whack because it was compared to cross-dressing, because back then all of everything fell under the umbrella of transvestite. And now we have transgender, which was supposed to replace transvestite as the medical term, but now it's been used as an umbrella term. So if there's 20
No, it's
million
supposed to
people who
replace
fall
transsexual as the
under
medical term.
an umbrella, if there, oh, wait a second, if transgender is replacing transsexual as a medical term, then what are you doing
No,
telling me it's not a medical term?
transgenderism isn't replacing transsexual as
That's what you
a
just
medical
said.
term.
That's literally
No,
what you
I
just
said
said.
it was supposed to replace transsexual as a medical term, but it didn't because by the time it was agreed upon as the
Oh, it
standard
didn't.
term,
It didn't. It
transsexual
didn't, did it?
was replaced
Yeah,
by
it's
gender
in there.
dysphoria instead. So transgender
No, no, no,
became a
no, no, no,
social
no, no,
term
no, no,
that's
no,
still more accurate than
no, no, no,
transsexual,
no, no, no,
and
no,
transsexual is
no,
more
no, no,
accurate
no,
than
no.
transvestite. Because over time, people evolve
No, no, no,
language
no, no.
to be more accurate
No,
because their understandings of subjects increases. Like, why do you
no,
have
no,
to
no,
talk
no, no,
over
no.
me instead of actually making a salient point?
Yeah, every point I've made has been salient. You
No, you
haven't
haven't.
disputed a single one of them.
I've disputed everything you
The
said.
only thing,
The
the
brief
only
moments
thing
of time
you've
you've allowed me
done
to speak.
is say, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Look,
Yeah, because you're ignoring
you
numbers
just
for
admitted,
feelings. You're literally not debating facts at all. You're completely ignoring studies because you have an impassioned opinion about something due to what I assume is projection.
You just admitted that transgenderism was supposed to replace transsexual as a medical term, and in fact, it did replace transvestite
Show me
as a medical term in 1978. In the DSM-3, it replaced transvestite as a
Is this
medical
really
term.
happening?
I'm checking it.
Now, because the media and the Republicans and Democrats want to argue about something because the gay marriage issue is solved and transgenderism is simply the
Kathleen was
natural
jealous that
entailment
no one was talking about her.
of the LGBT movement, we now have all these idiots that want to say that they're transgender. And they're not, and we're giving these people medicine, and it's fucking up their lives, and they're going to commit suicide because of the very attitude that you have. Your attitude is going to kill people.
What attitude do I have? Please typify my attitude.
That transgender people, that not all these transgender people, they're actually transgender and things like, yeah, that's the attitude
Okay,
that allows
when
these people
a random
to go
cross
to the
section of them,
self-diagnosis. They go to these
when a random
self-diagnosis
cross section of
clinics and be
people
like,
claiming to be transgender are
I
studied, and one and
I
two of them have
feel
brain structures that
transgender.
deviate from the normal, I don't see your argument that most of them are faking it. That does not statistically follow.
Yeah, again,
You're
you're
literally
not
just
paying
saying, "I feel
attention
this
to
way."
a damn thing I say. You're not.
Oh,
paying
I heard you
attention to a damn thing I
blabbering
say.
about how they're
Repeat what I
including
said.
pansexuals
Oh,
and
boy.
non-binaries and everyone else under the umbrella of
The
transgenderism.
trannies are
But
spurging.
again,
The
Again,
trannies is spurging.
those people were included in the study we're talking
No,
about in
they
that
were
cross
not.
section.
No,
Anyone
they
claiming to
abso-fucking-lutely
suffer
were not.
gender dysphoria was included in
No,
that.
they weren't, Claire. No, I'm sorry. You need to go back and read that study from the University of Legion. You need to go back and read that study from the University of San Diego, Berkeley. Right? Because that's not what they studied. They didn't study a broad terminology. They studied people who had
No, they
been
don't study a terminology at all.
diagnosed
They studied people
with
that were claiming to
gender
experience gender dysphoria.
dysphoria.
That's it.
Right? Not
That's
people that claim to be transgender. So when I say 9 out of 10 people are not in fact transgender but simply claiming to be transgender, that is because transgenderism is a fucking umbrella term now that includes a whole bunch of people that were never transgender to begin with, but now we like to include them because we all want to feel happy. So when I say 9 out of 10 people that claim to be transgender are not transgender, I am including all
by
these
the way,
non-binary furry
DSM-3
freaks.
does not have transgender as a medical term. The term it uses is
Oh,
gender identity disorder. So I don't know why you're lying about details.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I'm not lying about anything. It's in the DSM-3.
Okay,
and
I'm
you
pulling it
didn't
up.
just
I'm
read
gonna-
the
gonna
DSM-3.
post it in the channel right now, dude.
Now, do you understand where I get my numbers from? Is the computing
John
in
John
your
apparently.
Yeah, your numbers are nonsense. You're literally, I don't feel like these people.
John.
I don't feel like these people count as transgender because I say so. But since they're
Well,
just
that's
people
great
that report,
you don't think so.
No, I'm saying
great
that's what
that
you
don't
think so.
They do,
This is
but
your
that's
argument.
not. No, I'm sorry, Claire, but just because
Okay,
you
thanks
don't
for repeating your
think
argument
they
for me.
should be in there doesn't mean that they are not technically considered
Thank-
part of that umbrella because
Thanks
the
for refuting your
LGBT
argument for
community
me.
Claire memes
is
the
now
argument and then Kathleen takes it.
LGBTQIPALMNOP.
Kathleen, you might be retarded. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Might? Wait, might?
It's funny to hear you talking about how transgender people aren't valid because they don't have gender dysphoria while you show your body off on webcam for money. Like the
Yeah,
furthest
that's
thing
really
from
that's
experiencing
really a
gender dysphoria.
defeater. That's
No,
really a defeater.
I mean, it tells me that all
every
this
transgender
theory that you're
person on
expressing is
webcam
basically just
is
projection
not
of
really
self-hatred for the
transgenderism.
fact that you're
Yeah,
an
yeah, right.
autoidentified fetish.
Because
Show me your
transgender
tits,
people,
shut up.
transgender people would never do anything sexual, would they? No, we wouldn't find an actual transgender person in transgender pornography. No, we would never expect to find that. Gee, that's a real good thought there, Claire.
Well, if you're talking about
You
people not
come-
experiencing gender dysphoria, the fact that you seem comfortable enough with your body to show it off to strangers indiscriminately kind of tells me you don't have that much of gender dysphoria. You also haven't
Yeah, I
bothered to
don't think
voice
you
train,
understand
even
what
though you've
transgender
been
is.
living as a transgender woman for how many years now?
Yeah, again, none of this is helping your point whatsoever.
I'm pointing out that you're literally
It-
talking about your type
It
of
is
person and saying you're not a real
obvious that
transgender
it's
person
obvious
because it's
that
funny.
you have it's obvious to me that you don't have any understanding of what a transgender person is.
No.
It's someone who experiences gender dysphoria and then seeks to present as the opposite gender to alleviate that gender dysphoria.
All of
That's
them? All
that's
of them do that?
transgender.
All of them do that?
No, that's not what he's. That's the. Oh my god.
All of them
Kathleen,
do
you're very
that?
dishonest here.
No, I'm not being dishonest at all.
You're
There
right.
are
You're right,
many,
Kathleen.
I mean,
many,
Some of
you're a
them
many
just get
pathological liar.
breathing
You've
implants
never been
people-
dishonest.
and then
with
cam
There are,
whore
wait a
for
second,
attention.
wait a second. There are many transgender people, one, who don't experience gender dysphoria to the extent that they feel necessary to cut off their cock or their tits. There are many transgender people who, for particular reasons, be it
Wait.
economic, family,
So,
or something
do they
like this,
not
don't
experience
have the
transgender or gender dysphoria, or do they just not experience it enough that
to
they want to cause significant bodily harm to
transition,
themselves?
right?
'Cause those
So
are two
if
different
we're going to
things.
say that, well,
If
then
someone
those
doesn't
people
experience
aren't
enough pain in their
fact
finger that they're willing to
transgender.
amputate it, that doesn't mean they don't have pain in their finger.
Don't keep over talking each other.
The circus music.
Well, I mean, if I don't overtalk Kathleen at this point, I'll literally never get to talk because I was saying
It
statements that
wasn't an
were 30 seconds
invitation,
long,
faggot.
and then Kathleen was making statements that had no like actual context in the conversation and were like 5 minutes long. So I'm gonna have to overtalk her
Yeah,
eventually to talk to her at all.
everything I said is cogent. Everything I said is cogent.
Except, where you completely ignored mathematics for feelings.
Yeah, well, let's look at mathematics, right? Because if we were to include everybody in this umbrella terms, right, transgender people are only supposed to make up 0.00009% of the
That is a
population
completely
at
made up
any
number.
given time.
That is a
or
profoundly
as
disingenuous and
yeah,
nonsensical number. So
yeah,
what you're
I'm
saying
sorry,
is
but
the
the
transgender
only
people are
number
rarer
that
than unisex people by a factor of
the
10.
only
Wow.
The only known numbers that we have of transgender people range from 0.09% to 1.6% of the population
Do you know how big
at
of a
any given time.
range that
and
is?
that is the
That's a factor of 1,000
to
variants.
1.6.
No, that's 0.009 you said, not 0.9. You fucking idiot. You disingenuous moron.
Yeah, that's only 0.6% difference.
Wow, you don't know math. Holy fuck. You think 0.0009% and 0.9% are only a 0.6% difference?
Yeah, there's only a 0.6% difference between 0.09% and 1.6%, right? It's like what?
Okay, you keep on cutting off zeros from your original statement.
It's like
Hey,
you
keep it
add
up and you're gonna be at
0.1 to
9%.
the 0.9 and you get 1%. And the only reason we even have
If you
that is
restate this
because
3 more
of
times, you're gonna be at 90%.
self-identification, right? The only reason we have that is because of self-identification, right? We don't know.
Self-identification is the only way that anyone has ever been diagnosed with gender dysphoria in the history of the study of gender dysphoria.
Oh,
You're literally
wow.
saying nothing.
That hurt my head. That hurt my head. That one really
Okay,
hurt my
explain how people are diagnosed with gender dysphoria without self-identifying the symptoms, without saying that they're feeling like the other gender.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
Okay,
that one really
evade.
just hurt
Go
my
ahead
head.
and dodge this
That one-
question.
Oof.
You're so pathetic.
Again, this is the attitude, right? You're the one with the attitude that allows these Planned Parenthood clinics to give 12-year-olds fucking estrogen without the consent of their parents.
12-year-olds
and then they
never
go
get
and-
estrogen. They get anti-androgens.
Absolutely.
They get anti-androgens. They don't
Wait
get
a
estrogen.
second,
They get
wait a second.
blockers. They don't get estrogen.
If
No one
they
under the age
go
of 17
to
gets estrogen.
one of
my
these Planned Parenthood, if they go to one of these Planned Parenthood places, they get that little fucking piece of paper. That's all they fucking need to go onto the internet and get their little medications from these places like India and Singapore and
Yeah,
shit like
that's
that.
illegally purchasing it. That's not
No,
from a
it's
fucking
completely
prescription.
legal.
No, it's not.
Completely legal. It's completely legal.
If
It
it
is
was legal, you could go to a
100%
fucking
legal.
pharmacy in town and get your estrogen.
Kathleen, if you're looking to go out of the country to do the process, then you're doing it illegally.
You cannot
It
legally
is
order those drugs from out of the country.
100%
No, it's not.
legal
In-house
to
pharmacy
buy
is
estrogen
an illegal distributor of
online.
pharmaceuticals.
It is not legal to buy testosterone online, but it is legal to buy estrogen online because testosterone
with a
is
prescription.
much
But if you
more
had a prescription,
highly
you could go to
regulated.
fucking CVS and order it. So why do you have to do it from India? Because you don't have a prescription. What an
Yeah, you
idiotic
don't need
statement.
yeah. Look,
You do need a
I'm sorry,
prescription
but it
for
is
estrogen
completely
to buy it
legal
legally.
to
Yes, you do.
buy
You can buy it
estrogen from
illegally
India. No, it's not
with a
illegal.
prescription.
I'm
Yes, it
sorry, but it's
is.
not illegal.
It's a
No, it's
scheduled
not.
drug. You fucking idiot.
It
It is a
not
scheduled
Can we
drug.
get some citation, please,
illegal
on these facts here?
to
Can one of
Wait,
y'all say
buy
something?
it's illegal.
estrogen
It's
online.
legal to buy it in India. That implies then if you're in the U.S. where you can't buy it, that you're trying to skirt the laws of the U.S. where it is illegal.
So those the place like in-house pharmacy and things like that, they are allowed to ship these drugs to people in America.
By pretending that they're shipping them to people with prescriptions. In
You
fact,
can
if
buy
you go on
drugs
in-house
off the Silk
pharmacy
Road. That
and
doesn't make
try
it
to
legal,
fill
Kathleen.
out a request to buy the drug, it says that you have to fax them a copy of your prescription. Literally, it does. Go check it out. Go try it.
Uh-oh.
Why do I know? Because I've ordered testosterone from in-house pharmacy for years.
Uh-oh.
Why would you be buying testosterone?
Because I took testosterone for 9 years straight.
Why?
Because I was trying to present male. That's why I have such a deep fucking voice. You know what an intersex person
Did
is, Kathleen?
Kathleen
I'm
just
just
get
curious.
wrecked?
No, Kathleen didn't get wrecked. Not
It-
at all.
yeah,
Big
Kathleen
wins. Wow.
got wrecked.
Kathleen's a pathological liar that got
Fucking
wrecked
tranny.
again. He thought you weren't
Yeah.
talking to a real tranny.
Yeah, nothing that I said has been disputed.
I've
Absolutely
disputed
nothing.
literally every point that you made aside from
No,
your
you
feelings, which I
haven't.
can't dispute. Yes, I have.
You
I've
haven't
disputed your
disputed
numbers
shit, Claire.
arguments. I've disputed your interpretation of studies. I've
The
disputed your
only
alleged
the
dating
only
for the
thing
definition of transgenderism versus transsexualism, which again, as I posted in chat, is not in the
No, I'm
DSM-3.
sorry, but you haven't
Gender identity
disputed those
disorder is
things.
the name of transgenderism in DSM-3.
I'm sorry, but no, you haven't disputed those things.
You
You
just
gave me
denying that things
one.
happened, what they
You
did.
gave me one study. You didn't even give me the name
I
of the
didn't give
study.
you
You
a
just
study.
there is a study.
I
that
summarized 5
says
different
the
studies for
following
you
things.
instead of
I
linking them, and then I
actually
offered to link them,
know.
and you just talked
I
over me
actually
autistically.
know what the study is because I've read it, and it doesn't say what you think it says, and it didn't test the people that
DSM-3,
you
gender
think
identity
it
disorder.
tests. Now, when I say 9 out of 10 people, I am referring to the blanket and not the individual. And since the blanket covers a large range of people that both you and me apparently don't consider transgender people, my numbers would in fact add up.
Your numbers
So
are
there's
literally
2
made up.
things
You
you
yourself
haven't
have just
disputed.
admitted that you have no factual basis for what you're saying, aside from the fact that it covers a larger number of people. How have you quantified the percentage of those people versus the percentage of people claiming to be transgender that have actual gender dysphoria? Where is your actual method in coming to the number 9 out of 10?
Because one, I take what the self-reported number is, which
What's
is
self-reported number?
colloquially about 1.2 if we were to do a median, because it says it's about 1.6, but these things are never 100% accurate, so we take that 1.2.
Right, so now you're just interpreting the data
right?
of personal
And then
feelings.
and then we add in all the other people. No, I'm not working on feelings. I'm working on the fact that there is a number that exists somewhere between 0.9 and 1.6%.
No, you originally said
of what would be taken
0.009. Don't forget
to
that.
be self-identified transgender people. So we take
All
the
transgender people are
middle of
self-identified.
that.
All
We take the
transgender people
middle
are
of that.
self-identified.
If
There
we
is no
take the
test for
middle of that,
transgenderism. There never
if
has
we
been.
take the middle for that, that would be about 1.25, 1.3,
I
somewhere
sense
in
some
there, which would
Jewiness going
be,
on over here.
about
No,
what?
just let 'em go.
2 million people? That would be about what? 2 million people in the United States? Right, about 2 million. Right, if we took that number, divided it into the population at large, it'd be about 2 million people. All right, now the last thing that I read in the Washington Post says that the self-identified transgender rainbow right, equals something like 17 million people in the United States, based on some fucking survey, which probably had just as much validity as the other survey. But if we
Sounds
take
pretty
those
Jewish.
numbers,
Are you including gays and
right,
bisexuals in that?
we
Like,
get
the fuck?
no, transgender people. It was the fucking umbrella, which would include non-binaries, which would include gender non-conforming, which would include gender non-binary, third gender, no gender,
Jewish.
right?
Yeah, no.
all these people, right? And if we
Yiddish.
take the one from the other, we get to about 8 or
So I just
9 out
Googled
of
it,
10
and the
people
last
are
time a
not, in
census was
fact,
done on this,
transgender.
only 1.4 million people in the United States self-identified as transgender. What did you say?
Yeah,
17 million?
And if we take that 1.4,
So in
what do we get? We
Kathleen's
get about
world,
1.2 to 1.3%, right?
wait, you just said
So
17
that
million
would
people, and that's
be
actually 1.4. Like, you're
about
literally making up
what
all your
I
numbers.
said. Now, the 17 or 18
Pathological
million,
liar
the
exposed.
17 or 18 million number, that was the umbrella where they wanted to know if you're
You just said that's how many people were
all these
self-identifying
other
as
things,
transgender.
and
The
then
number of
they
people
added
self-identifying as
all of
transgender in the United
those
States last time it was census
into
by the UCLA
transgender
is
people.
1.4 million people, not 17. You're a fucking whole 10 times over the estimate.
Yeah,
So is that a
nice
9 out of 10 people that are
try
faking it in
again.
your mind?
Nice try again. But once again, you didn't pay attention. Because the second study that I'm talking about that was done by the
Just
Washington
link the study.
Post, which probably has about the same validity as this
Washington
one that
Post
comes
has
up
the
with
same
this
validity as the
1.2 or
UCLA.
1.3. Yeah, about the same fucking validity when
Oh
it's
my God.
self-reported.
I love
all right?
how Kathleen's shit accent comes out when he knows he's wrong.
Now, we take the one number from the other and we get about 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, right? That are something other than what would be understood as actually transgender, but fall under the terminology of transgender because it's no longer a medical term, it's a social
It was
term.
never a medical
So
term. It was
anyone
always
that
a social
just
term.
feels not quite normal can technically be classified as transgender now. But you don't agree with that.
Still
I
sounds
don't
pretty
agree with
Jewish.
that. So what the fuck is your problem?
What is it
You're
with this weird
misrepresenting everything
accent?
because you're a fucking idiot. That's my problem.
What is this weird accent that she's putting on?
Silent. Just let them go at it.
I don't understand.
Shut the fuck up.
My.
Oh, look, my number actually comes to that 1.7% that everyone but you claims. So imagine that.
Yeah.
So
Now,
1.7% of the
take
population
that
self-identifies
from
as
the umbrella.
transgender, not
Take that
17
from the
million.
umbrella.
That is the
Take
umbrella.
that from
That's
the umbrella.
everyone
No, that's not the
self-identifying as
umbrella.
transgender. Yes, it is.
No.
That is
No, I'm
everyone
sorry,
self-identifying
but
as
it's not.
transgender. It
No,
is.
it's
What umbrella are
not.
you talking about?
Y'all niggas do
The
need to take
umbrella.
turns.
The umbrella is the one that encompasses everyone that just feels a little special, everyone that just maybe doesn't feel
Okay, and
quite
what
male,
polling method did
quite
you come to determine that
male.
there's 17 million people claiming this?
I don't fucking know what polling method
Are you
they
Oh,
drunk,
use.
Kat?
so you just made it
Yeah,
up?
I think Clyde. I think
That's
she's
drunk.
drunk as shit.
I don't know.
To drink
That's
I don't
why.
know
That's
what-
why she's slurring, and that's why she's like getting into the accent and shit.
She wasn't slurring until just now.
Yeah.
Is this like some kind of
I'm
rhetorical
not
tactic
fucking
to
slurring
dodge the
my
fact that she
words.
completely fucked up her
You
argument?
literally are.
Might be
I am
connection.
not fucking
Like
slurring
she
my
didn't
words.
slur.
I
She didn't
just-
slur this entire
I
conversation.
just enunciate. No, what the fuck are you talking about slurring words? I
said
made
you
a
didn't.
hyphenated statement. They feel a little special, right? I'm just
Look,
making
you made numbers claims. How did you
hyphenated
come to them?
statement.
Are
Right,
you
so
An empty,
sing-songing your-
meaningless statement.
Yeah, this is
Sentences.
definitely
to
fucking
show the
weird as shit.
stupidity, to show the utter
All it's doing is
stupidity.
making
We'll get back to what
annoyed.
we were talking about.
Kathleen, you're basically Mr. Batmaning right now. I hope you know that.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
I can do Mr. Batman, but this isn't Mr. Batman.
That's gay.
Yeah, that would be really gay.
So would you like to make any kind of argument based on any kind of fact or study and not just your opinion and feelings? I've been kind of waiting this entire time, very
everything-
patiently.
Everything that I've given you is based on facts.
Empiricism.
Okay, so again, where does the 17 million come from? Where's that number coming
I
from?
don't fucking know where they got the number from.
Who's they? What
I
they got this
don't
number?
know where the first number come from. I don't know if we can trust the UCLA fucking study.
So can we just not have this conversation? Because
We
obviously you have no
can't
fucking idea what you
ever
even think.
trust a self-reported study. But
Every
it's the only thing we've got.
every
Why
transgender
wouldn't we trust
diagnosis
self-reported?
of any kind under any name since the history of medical science has been from self-reporting. There is no test for
No.
transgenderism. Yes,
You don't
there
need
is no
a
objective test
test.
for transgenderism.
You don't need a test to get these numbers, nor do you need to violate HIPAA in order to get
What are
these
you
numbers.
talking about?
Because if you get
What? No, what are you talking about?
diagnosed medically as a transgender person, right? All
Everyone
these
who's
records,
ever had a gender dysphoria diagnosis
public access,
got
all
that
you really
diagnosis
have
by
to
self-reporting
do,
their symptoms because there is no way to
that's
quantify their
not
symptoms externally.
what I'm talking
Yeah, they weren't
about.
committed.
Oh my god, that's not what I'm fucking talking about. I'm not talking about a self-reported to a fucking doctor. I'm talking about someone calls, says, hey, you a fucking tranny? Oh yeah, I'm a fucking
Okay, let me
tranny.
address that
Yeah,
argument now
that's
that I
called
understand what you're saying.
self-fucking
So you're
reporting.
saying that this 1.4 million number is from people self-reporting. So in fact, what you're really saying is that there's actually nowhere near 1.7% of the population is trannies. Most of those are just self-reported nonsense. So really, there's only like, you know,
No, that's not what I'm saying.
0.03% or 0.009, like you said the first time around. Is that what
No,
you're
that's
saying?
not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. I am
Okay,
not
what are you
disputing.
saying?
I'm not making a positive or negative claim about that 1.6. I'm saying when we compare that to this other one that the Washington
What
Post
other
came
one?
up with, then
Okay,
again,
link this
a
Washington Post
self-reported.
article.
I don't have it in my fucking book reports. I'll look for it in a little bit.
Yeah, this
right?
is not
But
just
if we
like
compare that
rhetorical
to
shit.
that
This is
number,
like drunk as shit.
we get about that fucking number, right? And if you
Number
think that
17
a
million.
person, if you think that a person who says that, you know, oh, I'm a boy today, I'm a girl tomorrow, and then no, you know, this wasn't that thing, right? You know, if you want to consider that transgender, look, that's on you. That's fine. You're
I don't
allowed to
consider
have
that
your opinion.
transgender, but that has nothing to do with any of the numbers I've
Then
been
what the
discussing.
fuck are you arguing with
Kat, you
me
sound
about?
drunk.
Because I'm not
Kat,
talking
you
about your
said
1.6.
that 9 out of 10 people reporting themselves to be transgender are not actually transgender, and there is no science behind that statement. That's just your fucking
I
random
am
compulsive
going
feeling.
to say this one more time.
You've explained it plenty of times, but you're explaining an
Yeah,
opinion with no foundation in
if
fact.
you
There's no
are
empiricism to it.
continuing to argue with me, then you haven't fucking understood what I've said. Because
How
I am
many
not
people have you met in
arguing
real life that report as
your
pansexual
Oh, I've met.
agender?
I look. I've met.
Like, answer
people
this
that are
honestly.
Pansexual. I've met people that say they're pansexual. I don't fucking think pansexual is an actual thing. That's not cogent to the point, Claire. I am not
No,
arguing
you're saying
about
that
your 1.6
9 out of 10 people that you
number.
meet who say they're transgender are just people who aren't transgender and are these like nonsense additional genders. I've met tons of transgender people. Listen,
Absolutely.
I've met tons of
Anecdotally,
transgender
yeah.
people who present themselves as just the opposite gender, and maybe one or two that present themselves as a third or fourth or fifth additional gender.
Well,
So
that's great.
so according to your
That's great. That's not
roadmap
been my
of transgenderism,
experience.
the vast majority of them should be the ones who are the nonsense genders, and only one or two of them should have been the ones that are actually
Look,
presenting as the opposite gender
if
normal.
that's your anecdotal experience, that's
You're only
great. But
offering
your
anecdotal experience.
anecdotal experience is not cogent to this conversation.
Why is
I don't
yours
give a
cogent?
damn. I didn't give you any anecdotal.
Yes, you did. Everything
experience.
you've said is anecdotal or made up. Your choice of which one is which.
Right, yeah. It's talking about a study at the University of Leeds is anecdotal. Talking about a survey
The
from
studies
the
that we
University
were
of
talking about
California, Los
refute your
Angeles
point.
is anecdotal.
They
Talking
don't
about
support
the
your
study
point.
at
They
San
support my
Diego
point. That's why I brought them up.
No, because you're not fucking listening to the point that I'm trying to make, and I don't know why it's so hard to get it through your thick fucking skull. Maybe you took testosterone for too fucking long. I don't know. I am not talking about your bloody 1.6 number. I'm
Okay,
not talking
was
about
was that
2 million
Huffington
fucking...
Post or Washington
I'm not
Post?
talking about
I'm looking for your
2
article that you
million
allege
people.
exists.
Just
Which
shut the
is it?
fuck up
Washington
and
or
listen,
Huffington
and
Post?
maybe you...
Just
Would
answer.
you shut your trap? Right?
Answer the
I
question, and
am
I'll be
not
quiet.
talking about your 2 million people. I am talking about all these other fucking people who
What
you
other people?
agree don't actually classify as transgender people.
Those people you're talking about are the vast minority of people claiming to be transgender. They are
No,
not
they
anywhere near
are
as
the
common as you
vast
say they are.
majority. They're the vast majority. Which is
How
why
would
we
you
have
come to
added,
that conclusion?
which is why we've added
I'm
12
challenging you to
fucking
justify
letters.
that statement.
That's why we've added 12 fucking letters to our LGBT alphabet soup shit. Because of all these other people that still technically... Fuck, intersex still technically falls under transgenderism.
If we had to add 12 letters to LGBT, how does that track with your argument? Because wouldn't they all just be T? When you're saying that those people all count as trans, but they have to have separate letters. What's that about? How does that make sense?
Intersex technically has its own fucking letter,
That's
but
because
most people
intersex
still
isn't a
consider
form of
intersex people
transgenderism.
transgender.
That's because they're
People that
retards.
classify non-binary are considered transgender people, but there's now an N in the alphabet soup, even though it's technically under the transgender alphabet, the umbrella. All these people fall under this fucking umbrella, and they're not fucking transgender.
No, we're not talking about LGBTQB, but whatever umbrella. We're talking about transgenderism. That's one of those letters.
About the fucking umbrella. I've been talking about the
No,
umbrella.
you haven't
the entire
been.
fucking
You made a
time.
specific
Yes, I
claim
have.
about the rates of transgenderism being invalid, and now you're trying to move the goalposts completely away from your original statement.
Umbrella.
Kathleen, what fucking science are you going to have regarding the umbrella term?
Excuse me?
What fucking science is going to regard the umbrella term? LGBTQ fucking 20 characters.
You're literally just fleeing from your own argument because you're wrong.
No,
that's all
I
this
have
is.
been talking about the umbrella since
what science would ever fucking talk about that term? You're referring to science, aren't you?
How could you be talking about the umbrella the entire time when you started this conversation by addressing my statement about numerical facts regarding transgenderism? And John's argument with me about it.
made the statement 9 out of 10 trans people, and I said I agree with that because the majority of people that would fall under the transgender umbrella are not people who actually suffer from gender dysphoria. That's been my fucking
and then
argument
to justify
the
that, you're
entire
saying
time.
that all these other people who don't consider themselves transgender